We have been at sea for over 3 weeks now, sailing through all sorts of weather on our voyage across the Indian Ocean. 3 weeks of constant motion and little sleep. You can see how tired we have become. Yet when the sun rises on what could be our last day at sea, we have one last challenge before we can relax in the tropical Seychelles island.
We want to cross the shallow Seychelles bank and arrive in daylight so that we can anchor safely. That means we have to sail Florence fast in a race against the setting sun. We are Matt and Amy. We've been living aboard and sailing around the world for 5 years now on our 37-foot sailboat Florence. We have already crossed 2 oceans together and are now on our toughest challenge yet, crossing the Indian Ocean.
Like England out here, it's grey, rainy, windy. It's not where it's supposed to be. We're nearly at the Seychelles. It's supposed to be sunny and blue skies and palm trees.
We tend to see even less of each other when the weather's like this because one of us is generally sheltering down below from the rain squalls or just getting a bit of time out of the wind. So you spend most of your day by yourself when you're double-handed sailing and hardly ever really see the other person. So yeah, it's more like 2 people single-handing.
We're sailing northwest up the edge of the Seychelles bank, with just 200 miles left to sail between us and our first sight of land for over 3 weeks.
The weather's not been very inspiring to show you much over the last couple of days. It's just been really grey and we've been getting loads of squally clouds, which mean that as soon as we get dry from one, the next one appears on the horizon and we've got to reef the sails and go back to how we were about a week or so ago before we got that little bit of nice settled trade wind weather. I mean, the sea state is fairly flat at the moment, but we occasionally get hit by a wave from the side which sends us surfing sideways and heels us over to the point where earlier, even having wedged the coffee pot on the gimbal stove, it got thrown off and down the back of the oven. It is, however, very nice to be able to drink coffee on passage because normally it makes me seasick, and this is one of the first long passages that I haven't, touch wood, felt any seasickness at all. So hopefully that'll continue for the next few days. And that's a small one of those waves that sent us sideways.
It's not just the coffee pot that has to be wedged in, but us too. The unpredictable motion of the boat means that we are constantly bracing ourselves, even when sat down, to prevent ourselves being thrown across the boat. Even sitting on the toilet requires us to hold on. Luckily, Florence has a strong handle next to the toilet just for that purpose.
That's cooking dinner this evening.
How are you doing?
Good
Pasta?
wedging.
Wedged myself in. Right.
What are you making?
Pasta. What I can do is boil some water, but just putting the water in the pot and getting it onto the stove is tricky. You've got to get the pasta covered without it all flying out on top of you.
Nice. We're on the right tack for that.
We are on the right track for that. But it was a big weight. See, it's fine now you're filming. It stops the waves. Right. Nothing's easier than pasta. Easy passage. For when the boat's rolling around too much to do any proper cooking. And for when Matt's cooking. Whoa! I'm not as good at it as Amy is. We've got nowhere to throw things in the bin out here. We now have to cut these open and wash these out when we do the washing up as well. so they're completely clean and they don't get all smelly. And anything plastic like this we then dispose of when we get to the other end. Wedge yourself into anything.
Balls don't get taken out by whatever you've left on the counter.
Put it in the bowl there. Gotta time it.
Thank you very much.
I don't think it's going to be a very comfortable night. 3 reefs in the main and the staysail. Loving the staysail, by the way. Wing on wing. But Florence is handling it well. The Aries is doing it all. Touch wood. Working fine. No sleep last night. It was just bouncing all over the place, like over 30 knots several times through all 3 reefs in the mainsail. I don't think either of us got much sleep, but today is an exciting day. Today we should get a good night's sleep. Is that the most exciting thing today?
I'm so tired, I just want Matt to get up and take over so that I can go to bed.
Today we should get there. After like 3,000 miles of ocean sailing, today we should see land for the first time. 23 days at sea.
Is that what day we're on? 23?
Day 23, yeah.
We've got 25 knots at the moment. And occasionally when it rains it kicks out a bit more wind, but we're making good progress. We've got a mile to go before we need to turn into the bank, but in actual fact the waves seem like they've died down rather than picking up, so yeah, we'll see what it's like when we get a bit closer.
I'll wait till we get to the shallows. We're still in 2,000 metres of water here.
Yeah. The rainbow.
Oh, it's a very pretty rainbow.
After spending 23 days at sea, sailing Florence non-stop day and night, you can probably tell that we were both retired. Our home has been rocking and rolling constantly, and that, combined with the need to take turns keeping watch at night, eliminates any chance of a decent night's sleep.
By this stage in the voyage, we have sailed nearly 3,000 miles, and we're feeling ready to arrive in Seychelles. But to get there, we have one final challenge. The last leg is over a shallow bank, meaning more likelihood of fishing boats to avoid, and we have to navigate past the outer islands. On top of that, we want to arrive in daylight so that we can anchor safely, and that means we have to keep Florence sailing fast to beat the sunset.
So that's the first time the depth gauge has read something real since we left Sumatra. We've been in 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 metres of water, and we've just literally gone from 2,000 up to 32, like almost instantly as we come onto the shallow bank that the Seychelles are on. We've just seen a fishing boat as well, which is sort of indication that we were about to get onto the shallow bank where there'll be more fish.
The fishing boat was, although it was really difficult to spot, and I'm not sure if we managed to get it on camera, strangely exciting because it was the first sign that we've had that we've moved from Asia to Africa. The boats here are really different. They're not like the local boats that we've seen in Asia, or at least that one wasn't.
Yeah, you're basing that on a sample of one.
One. Yeah, well.
What time is it in the morning? It is
8:55.
So it's 9 o'clock in the morning and we've got 55 miles to go before we get into the harbour. So this is where we start doing calculations of how fast we need to go, because we really like to get in there in daylight, and it gets dark about 6:30, so I think we need to do just over 6 knots to get in there, which means we better get a little bit more sail area out and start trimming these sails to get the speed up. Wind is all over the place. There's like constant lines of cloud coming through with this rain, and it brings like 26 knots of wind, and as soon as it's gone through, down to sort of like 12 knots of wind again. So you constantly got to change your sails to keep the speed up and not be too overpowered and damage things in the big breeze. Even though it's absolutely hammering it down horizontally, I can see a patch of blue sky ahead, so it's not going to last too long.
I was a bit too optimistic about the conditions this morning, and I put a small loaf of bread in the oven because you can't beat the smell and taste of fresh bread when you're sailing, especially when it's a grey, rainy day like this. But when we're on a 7-knot reach, the gimbal stove isn't gimbaled enough, and so it kind of tips everything right to the back of the oven, and it burnt all the bottom of the bread. Still tastes good.
Land ho! You can see land ahead. Just in between the rain clouds, it just cleared, and you just saw this mountainous, like, grey shadow. I don't actually think that's the island we're going to. I think that's the island of La Digue, which is a bit closer. But yeah, first sight of land in 23 days. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to have sailed all the way across this ocean and to see a little island appear. I know it's easy in the world of GPS, but that's still pretty exciting. It's disappeared back in behind the rain clouds now, but that was just a really mountainous outline. Makes me think, really look forward to going hiking and seeing some giant tortoises. That would be pretty cool. So yeah, maybe I'm super excited because I've been so deprived of land for 3 weeks, but yeah, feels like a pretty good achievement. We're not there yet, but we're very, very close now. Fish on?
Yeah, I only put the line out 5 minutes ago, and we've got a fish on already. I think it's a fairly small one.
That's alright, it'll do for dinner. Mind you, with this sea state, I might leave it to do the filleting until we get there.
Oh no, this doesn't mean that I have to kill it, does it? Please could you kill it?
I'm filming, you're dealing with the fish!
No, I'll bring it into the boat, but please could you kill it?
Wait, are you going to dump it in the bottom of the cockpit, yeah?
Yeah.
Woo! Ah, what is this?
This passage has definitely proved to me that you don't need expensive fancy fishing gear to catch fish. This is the really simple lure that I rigged up before we left. It probably cost about less than £2 I would imagine altogether, with the hook, a lead weight and a couple of plastic squid. And that's what we've been putting out. I think there's only been about 2 days where we haven't had a bite that we've actually put the line out. It's got us four decent sized fish, and it's just on a wire leader, and then we have
line that we actually bought in, really strong fishing line that we bought in Cape Verde, and on a hand reel that a friend gave us back in the UK for catching mackerel, which is well past its best, but it does the job, and just a bicycle inner tube to take the stress off it. It works.
Black noddy terns. Loads of them. Last saw them on Lady Musgrave Island.
Matt's just woken me up from a snooze, and now the main island is in sight. It's absolutely stunning. It's bigger than I expected it to be and really mountainous. Yeah.
Feeling excited to be here?
Feeling very excited to be here. Up until this point, I was ready to stop not sailing. I really enjoyed the sailing. We've had some fantastic sailing, but it's all of the stuff that goes alongside that, all of the living that's really difficult. So I was ready to just have a break from struggling to get around without holding on, and like cooking and just the general day-to-day motion of the boat. But now we're here, I'm really excited for the Seychelles themselves.
Today has been some pretty challenging but also pretty amazing sailing. Been on a reach instead of running downwind, so that's a faster point of sail for the boat. And we've had to work really hard because there's been so many rain squalls and stuff coming through. Just to work really hard to keep changing how many reefs we have in the mainsail, how much we've got furled, just to try and keep the boat up to speed. And we sailed past some beautiful islands here in the Seychelles because there's only one port of entry. We have to go all the way to Port Victoria, and the main island of Mahi, which has Port Victoria on, is now just in front of us as the sun's going down. It looks like we're going to make it kind of just as the sun goes down, which is the best we could hope for, really. But it's been really fast sailing all day. Really fun, really. Challenging, hard work, but also pretty fun. As we approach now, we need to get ready. So we need to put our Q flag up, which is our yellow flag, to indicate that we need to go through quarantine. We're a new arrival from an international port. And we'll probably also have to call them up on the radio on channel 12. We found out which channel it is in our research before we set off. And we have to go to a quarantine anchorage. But we shouldn't have to do quarantine because we spent over 3 weeks at sea, so they're pretty good about accepting that. Don't really feel like I can quite take in what we've just done. If you look at it just day by day, we just sail the boat in a straight line day by day, but when you look at it an overall 23 days at sea, we've sailed over 3,000 miles to get here, had to go a long way south to get to the trade winds. I think it is quite a big achievement, really. Yeah, so we're just going to go get into the port, find where we anchor. It's not going to be particularly sheltered in quarantine anchorage. I think it's for big ships. And then hopefully tomorrow we'll be able to get checked in, get ashore, and have a look around the Seychelles.
It's the first time I've spoken to anybody other than Matt for nearly a month. I'm a little bit nervous about this. Victoria Port Control, Victoria Port Control, Sailing Yacht Florence, channel 12, over. I really hope that they speak English, because the only bit that we've heard anybody talking on the radio just now was in French. And I was under the impression that the main language here, the business language, is actually English, so hopefully they speak English. Victoria Port Control, Sailing Yacht Florence, channel 12, over. Victoria Port Control, Sailing Yacht Florence, nothing heard. Sailing Yacht Florence standing by on channel 16 and 12, over.
Well done. It wouldn't surprise me if our VHF isn't working after that lightning strike. So I don't know. So if we get a bit closer, then maybe we'll try see if we can get anybody to give us a radio check. Okay. Are you excited? I am actually pretty excited. It's pretty amazing.
This is Sailing Yacht Florence on channel 112, over.
Florence, loud and clear coming. How many days you've been at sea?
23 days, 3 days, over.
Well, for 23 days, how many persons you have on board?
2 POB, 2 person on board.
Okay, once you drop anchor, please advise me. I say again, once you drop anchor, advise me, please.
That's great. Florence confirmed once we have dropped anchor, we will call again on channel 112, over.
Affirmative.
You ready?
Over there, but I think we're okay here.
That bit well.
Anchored!
That's the anchor down and well set, and Quarantine have confirmed that they'll be out to see us first thing in the morning, so we've just got time to sort out that fish, crack out the rum, and then hopefully have the best night's sleep that we have had in about a month.
Morning.
Good morning.
You must be Florence.
Yeah, I'm Amy and this is Matt.
I thought you were Florence.
Next time, after quarantine clearance, we head ashore for the first time in 24 days. 3 offices and a pile of paperwork later, we are free to explore Seychelles, both above and below the water.
If you enjoyed this, please subscribe and click the bell to get a notification when the next video is released. And let us know what you think of the video. We love reading all your comments.
We would like to thank everyone who supports us, and especially our star patrons.
We were told this would be a really rolly bad anchorage. How does it feel after 23 days at sea?
Like a mill pond. But everything's relative, isn't it? Normally I have to tie the fish on. The last few fish I've done I've had to tie on, because otherwise they slide off because we're rolling so much. But obviously at anchor, it's not so much of a problem.